right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I know it's been a long time since we've been on, but you are here with us with mental health awareness. I'm Timothy Wright, along with my cousin Quintera Wright and Michelle. So before we get started, if you are watching from Facebook, like and share. If you're watching from YouTube, hey, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you will get the notification every time that we come on. Again, this is mental health awareness. Let's say a few hellos. It's been a long time since we've been on, and I know you're looking for Ebony. Ebony is a little under the weather. Let us continue to pray for Ebony. Hopefully, the next time we come on, she would join us as well. But Michelle is here, so Michelle, tell us hello. How you been doing? What you been doing? Where you going? Where you been?
Hey everyone, I've been doing well, working very hard. I went to Dominican Republic, about to go to Bahamas for the holidays, for Christmas, but I miss talking to you all. I miss being here, processing with you all. This is my therapy. I love it, and I'm glad I'm back.
Hey, good to have you. Quintera, what's up?
Hello, hello. Definitely happy to be back. I absolutely love when we get a chance to talk mental health and do these podcasts. I feel like this has been a crazy month for me. I just feel like I've been like overwhelmed with so much work and so much that's happening. But I'm excited. You know, I have a trip coming up. I'm leaving for Aruba on Friday. So yeah, that's about it for right now.
All right, cool, cool. So I thought it'd be safe for us to come on. And so many things is happening. I've been getting a lot of phone calls, inboxes. I said like, hey, when y'all coming back on? And and it's mostly it's conflict of schedule sometimes, and we have to understand that uh, we begin to get busy, and this is the time of the year, especially for a pastor. We're trying to figure out where we're going for next year and this and that. So I thought it would be safe for us just to pause, say, let's do something. Let's do something based on the season that we're in. So I think the holidays are usually viewed as a time of happiness and rejoicing, But for some people, let's be honest with ourselves, it can be a period of pain, painful reflection, sadness, loneliness, anxiety, and depression.
For
So
sure.
even people who love the holidays, and I'm one, we got a big family. I'm one who love the holidays, but we can experience the blues during this busy season. So the holidays are often a time of high emotions and demands, which can have a lot of people feeling stressed and exhausted. So I thought evening to talk about holiday blues. You know, we all possibly might have the blues during this season. You know, she was 19, I was 21. You know how you sing the blues. So we want to talk about holiday blues. Yeah, I can finish that, but I'm not. Uh, we want to talk about holiday blues. I think the first question we need to ask is, what are holiday blues?
Well, research has defined it as temporary um, feelings of anxiety or depression during the holiday season. Um, Psychiatrists have also labeled it as seasonal affective disorder. So it has been noted in the psychiatric mental health world as a seasonal affective disorder, meaning it's temporary, it's during the holiday time. Like you said, when most are feeling joyous and happy. A lot of things happen, people, especially after COVID. You know, we got a lot of death and a lot of things happening. And I know a friend that this is the first, she lost her son this time last year, be 1 year, the 1 year anniversary. So people are not really in the let me go shopping spirit, right? So it's causing some depression and anxiety, as well as money. We're in a recession, right? Some people can't go shopping. So, and you seeing all the stuff, and you
Right.
know, you just want to shop and all that good stuff, you know, and you can't do it because of funds. So,
All right.
For
Quintero?
sure. In seasonal affective disorder, it definitely falls under the category of depression. If you're ever looking it up in the DSM-5 for those who are in the psychology field. But it is something in my world, you know, and especially in Michelle's world too, is something we see very often, and we see it annually. And this is something around this time, our workload gets 3 times as heavy. And so for the children that we work with, the families we work with, we start to see a lot of behaviors in the children, a lot of concerns and issues with the parents that we work with. And only does this just start at the holiday season. I have noticed that I see this around the time change. You know, when it's starting to get darker sooner, the sun is not out as long. It definitely plays an effect on people's mood. I even see it in myself sometimes. Like, you know, when the time has changed, I'm a little bit more druggy, I'm a little more tired, a little more irritable. But there's so many contributing factors that affects individuals around this time of the season. Like Michelle was saying, it's holiday time, it's the loss, we're in a recession. There's so many different things that really contributes to individuals feeling overwhelmed or sadness, great deals of sadness. And so it's definitely something we want to kind of hit on, kind of really reflect and really bring some awareness around that, because a lot of times people are like, oh, I feel down, but they don't know why. You know? And actually that there's a diagnosis to it, and we want to be able to help anyone who feel like that they are having some challenges around this.
Right. Now, you might be experiencing the fact that it might be a little lag, but bear with us. And we talked about, you know, the definition as far as what it is, but then we might be looking at it on an adult level. But then we can easily say that even children suffer from holiday blues. So
absolutely, absolutely.
how so in children then?
I've seen it with children, especially in foster care, not
Okay.
being with their biological family, right? Being in defects custody or foster home or group home, not being able to get toys, and like other children having the family dinners as children that may have with their family, you know, biological family, their norm. A lot of young adults or young children that are in foster care, most of the time foster parents try to make it as normal as possible and fun as possible, but you have kids from different culture, different backgrounds, and they celebrate differently, right? And so you have kids that had maybe was with the family there and they had a normal thing, and then they go with a foster family, it's not normal. So that's the change there. You know, they have to get used to this new family, and they can't be with their biological family. So it could be a variety of things that cause that depression, that sadness, that isolation. They start to isolate. So you can see isolation, sadness during that time. Some more things you can see, just a feeling of loss. It's grieving. You know, I'm grieving my family that I'm not able to be with. Loneliness, frustration, acting out behavior. You know, they start, you know, can be very disrupted in school as well as in the foster home. But even let's say kids are with the family and the family are having financial issues and they can't get that PS5 or they can't get their, you know, the shoes they want. Of course, young children don't understand money because they don't pay bills. But, you know, they're not really understanding why I can't have that, why I can't have certain things, you know. During this time, times are very hard. So that's where you see it with the children, just very frustrated and maybe jealous and envious of other children because they can't have certain things.
Right, right. Now I've noticed that it's not just during the Christmas holiday. It's also you can back up because I saw some statistics suggest that seasonal depression or holiday blues actually start around Thanksgiving. Because you know that's when mostly family actually start coming together. And again, Michelle, you made it so vividly clear how COVID played a part in it, where we were actually not coming together. And now I think this is the first time we came together in a long time. We actually had a chance to celebrate my grandmother's 89th birthday. We did the drive-by parade and things like that. But we actually, I mean, it was during Thanksgiving time too, so we actually had a chance to hang out with family and friends. I thought that was, and it brought back so many memories how things used to be. And I can see how well it's easy for us to get into this seasonal blues, this holiday blues with that. But it was so much, it was so refreshing just to see family again together. So I thought that was good. But then here's the reality: there's some people who are suffering, not having family, even before COVID. So we have to look at that as well. So here's the question: what does holiday blues look like?
Holiday blues can look many different ways for a lot of different individuals. And as you were saying that, just then I instantly just started thinking about, mass trauma and how we mask different feelings. And so there's so many people who go out every single day and portray that they are okay when they're not okay, and I think that's the biggest thing when dealing with some form of depression is that having that sense of awareness, knowing that it is okay to not be okay. And we see that with people of all different ages, whether that are children, mid-age, whether that is our elderly. However, a lot of times in this season, we always think about children or we think about, middle-aged adults. And a lot of times we forget about those elderly individuals who can't get around, who don't have family, who may have lost friends and different things like that. And they even suffer just as much as anyone else. But some other things that you can see, like Michelle has mentioned, is the isolation, the acting out behaviors. Some of the things that you don't see, self-inflicted injuries, we see that very often with the children that we work with, superficial cuts, um, some of the other things that you may individuals is when they go from an extreme behavior. Maybe they was once quiet, now they overly talkative, or and maybe they was very reserved and now you're starting to see someone who's super interactive. There's so many different ways that you can notice someone not being their normal self. And I think it's mostly of just paying attention, asking questions, and really comfortable with being uncomfortable. I know a lot of times people don't feel comfortable having conversations such as this. But around the holidays, I think is even more important that you check in with individuals, because if you don't, then who will?
Right. I think one of the shows that we did, we was talking about communication, how it is the key. And I think we don't understand how much it is the key, because it opens the door to so many other discussions as well. Because who's that? Ellen's DJ recently committed suicide, and that's still that's a mystery to us. Just seeing somebody 24 hours before his death dancing on TikTok, or with his family, and then I mean the next morning we getting headlines that he's committed suicide. And in a sense, everybody's face is on depression. It can be anybody. And how can we just really recognize that? I understand what you're saying, but for a guy like him, who you think, hey, he has this, he has that, he's not suffering from anything that we know of, and all of a sudden he just takes his life.
Well, because my son said that too. I have a 20-year-old, and he said, how can someone got money, he got young children, like what stressed him out so bad where he just took his life in 24 hours before he was laughing and dancing. But as Quintera said, that was a mask. But the person closest to you, the person, his wife knew. You see, she ran to the police station. It was odd. He left the house with no car. He left the house walking. So he wasn't, walking, she said it's strange he wouldn't have did that. So I don't know what else he left at the house and what else he left, but something triggered something in her where she immediately went to the police.
Right. So
she knew something was odd. So
right.
So the person closest to you should, could possibly know something is off.
So we need to look at the change of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And she recognized it. She tried to intervene, so she recognized. Of course, we're not going to know all the details, but she knew something because she didn't go to his next door neighbor. She didn't go look. She went to the police station, immediately. So why? We don't know, but she knew something was off. And not just that, she knew something was off to say, hey, something's wrong with my husband. He wasn't missing for a long time, but so it could have been a conversation, something, it could have been an argument, it could have been his past history that only she knew about, and she went to the police to try to intervene. So sometimes things. I know Ebony talks about her nephew. She said that he started to give away things, even though he seemed happy, he presented to be a certain type of way. He started to let people have his favorite shirt or his favorite. I mean, it's sometimes it's signs. Sometimes it could have, even if it's a conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And it just, even as you think about, Twitch and, all the media that's going out around, the incident that happened with him, you hear nothing but good things, right? I've heard nothing negative about him whatsoever. You heard about his character, his dignity, his respect, how he has a good, kind spirit and he enjoys being around others. Upbeat, he likes to dance, he do all these different things, right? And it just makes me think about like who checks in on the strong ones, right? Is always those individuals who you think are strong, who you think got it all together, sometimes be the ones who may be falling apart inside, and it really make you think about, the ones who are supposed to be the ones to hold everybody together, right? So you think about like your pastors, or you think about your school teachers, or you think about your nurses, your doctors, and the people who you're like, okay, they're good. I don't have to worry about them.
Yeah.
And around this time, I think you should check in on them, because even for them around this time, there's an increase in the workload, basically, there's an increase in patients coming into the hospital. There's an increase of maybe concerns that's coming to you as a pastor. For us, there's an increase of children coming into care, so it looks very different for every scenario, but even the strong ones need help too. And it's something that I have a really good friend that I went to college with. His name is Leander Williams. And, he used to always say, who motivates the motivator? And that's just something he will always say, like every time I see him, like, oh, who motivates the motivator? And it really makes you think about that.
Right. Now from a professional level, me being a pastor, I'm glad you said that, because as he would say, who motivates the motivator? But I use the term who encouraged the encourager. And oftentimes, especially during this season, and I probably need to pause, but especially during this season when pastors are trying to come up with their agenda, their themes, and which way the church is going, we suffer from a lot of depression and anxiety, trying to figure out how we're going to do things for next year. So that's where I've been, and I can see myself in this. And I thought this would be safe for us to do this, because it looks so many different ways, and we can easily have that mass trauma where we can put that mask on. It's like, hey, we functioning so well. But then at the end of the day, the question becomes, are we okay? And most time that answer is no. But then we have that stigma. It's okay to say we're not okay, but we don't want people to suggest that those who look strong are really weak.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's pause. Go ahead. Go ahead, twin. You want to say
No, I
something?
was just agreeing with what you were saying just then, just thinking about like even just today, like I'm just thinking about my day. And I was just like, oh my God. I feel so tired. I feel mentally and physically tired today. And I was just like, man, so you really do have to think about like sometimes you have to be aware of how you're feeling and notice that you're not okay. So I think that that's good that you said that, and it's okay to not be okay.
Right. I- At what point, though, do we really believe that?
What portion of that? At what point do we believe that we're not okay or that we will be okay?
That we're not okay? Because I think we put this facade on. We put this facade on. Again, I pastor a church. I'm in front of a congregation, and and we got to be strong. But the question is, do we?
Not necessarily. You don't have to.
Absolutely.
You
But
don't
then,
have to.
but that's the stigma. You got to be. But then at the end of the day, we suffer from illness, and not physical illness, mental illness, emotional, sociological, financial. All this is going on even in our lives. And again, this season here, and one of the things I've been working on for next year is HIT, and it means healing and truth. So next year we're going to be talking about miracles and mindset. That's going to be our theme for next year. But then to get there, y'all, to get there, it is frustrating to get where you need to be.
Oh, it
And
definitely
yeah,
takes work.
yeah,
I'm a believer of always saying, that to get to a healthy state takes work. To get to peace of mind, to get to joy, it takes work. It
right,
don't just show up and just sit down in your lap and say, hey, I'm here. Happiness is here right now. You have to choose to be happy. It's a choice, and it takes work behind that. I really do think as I'm saying and having this conversation, I think about, Michelle has a friend and he often says like, I'm at peace right now. And I worked hard to get this piece. And I will not let anybody destroy that. And he means that. Like,
Everything
but the fact that he constantly say, like, I worked hard for this, like I created this piece in my life and I worked hard for this, like it's a constant reminder of like it takes work.
right, right. And I go ahead, Michelle.
No, I want to go back to your question. You said, how do you know when you're not okay? I think it's very important to have segments like this. And I think a lot of people, not only just us, are dealing with like mental health and having forums and having platforms. A lot of churches are, talking about mental health. And so it's important to keep talking about it and keep talking about it because sometimes you don't know that it's okay not to be okay
Right,
until someone says it to you. And that language is universal with everyone. You hear that from young people because they've heard it because we have to keep talking. And that's how you know. That's how you get it. I mean, you hear it all on the news, even with Twitch dying or before that. You hear celebrities talking about their depression. P. Diddy talking about his, and he says it. Just like they blow up all these dancing on TikTok and Instagram. It's everywhere. It's okay not to be okay. Talk to someone. It's all on social media about mental health. So that is opening doors for a lot of people. So that's how you know it's okay not to be okay.
right.
Because
Now,
it's normalized.
right, especially in the Black community where
Right.
we don't talk much about mental health.
For sure. right? What stays in my house, what happens in my house stays in my house. We're gonna just sweep this under the rug, you know. And there is this really great in the Black community. You hear that so often, right? Like, don't tell my business. I don't want anybody to know. Like you said, I have to portray to be a strong person because if
Pray
I'm not
about it.
seen as weak or I'm less than, you know, or a man can never cry. You know, these are the things that you hear so often, right? And these are, you know, expectations that we put on ourselves sometimes, and we have to be able to give ourselves grace. Like, we have to be able to tell ourselves, even in the back of our mind, when it don't even make sense. Like, I can care what anybody else has to say or think about me. That I'm gonna be okay regardless. Like, you know what I mean? A lot of people put these expectations on themselves where, you know, they're like, okay, they're trying to get everything together, have all these different things in line, right? I have to make dinner. I have to make sure my children have food to eat. I have to make sure I get these bills paid on time. I have to make sure that I take care of all the extracurricular activities and all the additional expenses, lawn care, all these different things. I have to make sure that I, you know, attend these social outlets and be a part of these friend groups. These people have so many expectations on themselves. They put so much pressure when they could just let it go, just let things flow. Things will happen the way it's supposed to happen, whether it happens the way you want it to happen or not. You really have to like lessens these expectations that we put on ourselves, because the weight, oh my goodness, the weight that we put on our own shoulders or we allow other people to put on us. When you create boundaries, when you tell people no, you know, or when you can look at yourself and know that you are beautiful in spite of, know that you are smart in spite of, know that you are, you know, this kind, genuine person in spite of, nothing else will matter.
And that's funny because that's what one of the ways to deal with it says, learn to say no and have realistic expectations. That's the cure of
Right.
the holiday blues.
And we're definitely gonna talk about that. Let's pause because let's pause for station identification. Hey, you're here with mental health awareness. I'm Timothy Wright, along with Quintera and Michelle. We've been talking about holiday blues, and we all might have suffered from this one time or another from the holiday blues with all the extra stuff that is added to us during this year as a professional, as a parent, or just as a friend. Let's look at some treatment when we talk about holiday blues. Are there treatments?
Yeah, she Quintera named quite a few. Learn to say no.
Okay.
Set realistic expectations.
So let's talk about that because I think one of the things because we can look at that as well as coping too. So we can just put those together. So with the treatment, let's look at this. And I think one of the things that we need to see is that we don't need to isolate ourselves.
Right. You don't isolate, but self-care and self-time.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to just go in a bubble without it. But sometimes you need to be by yourself, not excessively, but be by yourself just to gather your thoughts and take care of you. But don't isolate when you just shut the whole world out for a long period of time. You might take a few hours just to do your meditation, your prayer, or I don't know if it's a couple days just to get yourself together, just to breathe, exercise, go to the gym and not or walk outside. Because self-care is definitely very important, but don't just isolate, you know.
Right.
That's depression, you know, you could that's a thin line. Depression.
Right. Now you definitely mentioned going to the gym. So I think one of the things too, and you probably agree with me, is to exercise regularly.
I'm an advocate.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is good. It's good for you.
And also during November, you know, during the holiday time, you know, people, you know, like take a little sippity sip, but you got to do it in moderation because that can lead to something else. So be careful with the sippity sip, drinking alcohol. I'm just make it plain. Drinking alcohol, do it in moderate. Don't moderations. Don't I want a glass of wine all day long. You know what I mean? Because some people use alcohol and drugs to cope. So we don't want to we don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So instead of doing that, do that in moderation. I know
there is an increase.
Yeah.
There's a
That's
what
good.
now? Say that again. Say that again, twin.
I was saying that's good because we do see an increase in substance abuse basically during the holiday times. You got Christmas parties, you got Thanksgiving parties, you got all these different type of celebrations, New Year's parties. You have people who've been sober and then they get their first sip for the first time in many years, and then they lose control, or they're around family and friends, so they decide to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, because they're in the group, they're feeling good, they're with family, they're with friends, they're excited, but at the end of the day, the holidays are over, and then they're still struggling with this addiction, or may have relapsed from something that they had once found control of. So we definitely see an increased number of substance abuse around this time. It is hard, it's very for some people. And we even see this with children, because we work with children in care who have addiction, challenges with addictions at 7 and 8 years old.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things we definitely need when we talk about treatment or coping with holiday blues, and I think Michelle hit on it so well, learn to say no.
And let your no be no. I can't do it. Sorry. Can't. Nah, I'm not gonna go. And I had to say it. Even though I want to go, even I wanted to do some things. And I'm normally that person that do things with my friends. For over the past few years, I was telling Quintera, I was like, hey, I might have to back out. I have to say no, and I hate this because I was processing with her, and she was like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. And I say, yeah, I would say no. I hope they don't feel bad. But Katara, she's so nonchalant. If they do feel bad, they just gotta feel bad, because you gotta take care of yourself. And I was like, oh, so because I'm kind of like all that person that don't want to, kind of hurt people's feelings or be that person, but you like just tell them no, that you got to take care of yourself. So that's very important, because that's me. I'm that person to try to, want everybody to come together, be happy, and I get overwhelmed, right? So I had to start saying no, and it hurt my feelings to say no, but it's okay. I feel better now. I'm getting more confident with the no. It's coming out a little quicker. No. So yeah.
Well, it flows fluently, doesn't it? Yes. So I think one of the things in this time for me, especially with the health challenge that I have now, and those might not know, if you're watching, I've been diagnosed with fatty liver disease, and I have to learn how to cope with that, and coping with that. This is my slogan now. Releasing people out of your life is not just necessary, but it's spiritual.
Come on now. Let me tell you, we literally just had a conversation about this because we were just talking about goals and different things, because I'm a believer of writing things down, write it down, make it plain, and I write goals for myself, and I evaluate that, and I evaluate people and friendships, and that is so important, to evaluate the people in your life.
Right.
Even if they've been lifelong friends, you have to know when it is time to let something go. And letting someone go does not mean that you don't love them, does not mean that you don't care about them. However, you have to do what's best for you in that moment. And I really do believe that if that person is not in your life to benefit you and to better you and make you better physically, spiritually, financially, professionally, socially, then what are you here for?
Right.
You know?
And that'll help you
And
with your no.
yes, and so I
Right.
think evaluating your circle, evaluating your support system is important. And because people will drain you, people will frustrate you, people will take your energy that you have, and you want people who's going to uplift you, people who's going to help mold you to be a better, not people going to bring you down or make you stagnant, you know. And there's sometimes we have relationships that are stagnant because they've been there for so long, it's just comfortable. There's this expectation, oh, that's just my cousin, or that's just this, or that's just that.
And I think it's not purposefully, because I was talking with Terry about it. It's not I don't think they do it purposely, but they're in their own fog, right? And they got their own stuff going on, and they're self-centered. So it's kind of impacting you. So you have to always be careful who you connected with, because it will pull you and drain you and cause you to lose energy and motivation. Like, dang, why I ain't motivated? I just was talking about I was going to the gym. Now I don't feel like going nowhere. I'm over here eating some fried chicken, some big, large French fries, and a large Coke. When I said that I was going to have a salad, because you're connected to the wrong spirit.
But that's important. We literally just had this conversation, but that is such a great topic that you brought up. I feel like that's a whole nother conversation. We could say that for another day.
Yeah.
But
Look, in fact, I already have a title for a jump ship. Here's another thing. Here's another thing, and I think Michelle was talking about it. Y'all, we got to set realistic expectations.
Yes.
Yes. We have to be honest with our children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I know what you want.
It's what you get.
But this what you gonna get. I'm gonna provide you with what you need.
Right.
You might not get all them wants.
Right.
So we have to set realistic expectations, not just of other people, but of ourselves.
For sure, right?
And be okay with that, and don't feel guilty about it. Right. Like, I don't feel you got food. That's it. You got food, shelter, and place to stay. Some people live in Atlanta, and we call it tent city. Now that's reality. I work at a shelter part-time. This lady's in there with 5 kids, 5 or 6 kids in a shelter with her children. They're just happy to have somewhere to stay. Right. The lady said, please excuse the way I smell, me and my children. They've been on the streets. I said, ma'am, it's okay. Give me your laundry so I can wash it. See, you got to tell your kids about that. See, that's what we could be. But that's not what so we got to be thankful for what we have. And I'm not buying no $500 game. And I'm not spending this money on them toys.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we got to pay rent. Because we spent out, and I used to. That's me. I used to go out and splurge for holidays. And in January, didn't even have rent. I'm just being transparent. Be struggling to pay rent after I just spent all this money on toys and stuff for them kids to break and leaving the floor. I don't have babies no more, but I'm telling parents that do have babies, don't do it, because you know what, ma'am, sir, they're not gonna remember it anyway. When they get older, they don't remember those little games that you gave when they was little, that you spent all your checks on. They don't care. Kids don't care about that. They'll play with a water bottle.
Now I'm gonna say this, because let's go back when we talk about learn to say no, because it helps us to set realistic expectations as well. And I was having a conversation with somebody, and they asked this question to me. Says, "Hey, you said no to them." I said, "Okay," but he said, "Did you say no to yourself?" Because our minds have to be made up. When we say no to them, we're not going to go and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to retract on that. My answer is yes. So not only do we have to say no to them, but we got to say no to ourselves. And I was like, you blew my mind. So as we're setting realistic expectation, know your limitations.
Right.
And if you can't do that, I rather say no than to say yes, that then I can't do it. So I have to retract on a yes more so than a no.
Or you just say yes and you exhaust yourself because you push yourself to the limit to get things done.
Now you got to do that again because you froze.
I said, or you say yes, and then you have exhausted yourself because you have pushed yourself beyond your means to get it done.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's above your limitations.
It comes with, yes, comes with consequences. And a lot of times people don't realize that, but sometimes yes can be harmful in a way. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm just one of those people who believe in, there's a cause and then there's an effect. There's something that's done and then there's a reaction to that. So sometimes just saying yes has consequences. And most of the time it doesn't affect the individual who you're helping or you're talking to. It affects you. And a lot of times they're laying in bed, they're sleeping good, and you over here, you're exhausted, or you got things running through your mind like, I shouldn't have did that, or I should have, I should have did this, I should have did that, but you're the one who's affected by that, and they're fine. So it does, there are consequences to some stuff that we do, and sometimes we put it on ourselves, and it is hard to believe. It is hard to believe that we do that.
I shouldn't have did that. And that's where I'm at. Like I shouldn't have did 3 trips this year. I should only did 1. You have to think about that. That's the consequence, even though it didn't affect me. Yeah, it did affect me, a little bit, but I was like overthinking, should I have done that? I'm up at night, they sleep, and I'm up all night trying to figure out, well, should I have spent that money? I could have put that money on this, or whatever. So sometimes it's best just to say no and be okay with your no. Like you said, just be okay with it. I'd rather have said no, I didn't hurt anybody but me. It wasn't like they care about me going on the trip or anything like that. It was my trip, It was my finances. So we have to be okay with no.
Right. Let's look at this, because I think this one thing I do regularly anyway. But then I think during this season, especially starting like November, Thanksgiving is coming up in November. So, sometimes this seasonal blues start kicking in around that time. So I think it was, to start a journal during the season. And that's been one of the things. That's what's been working out for me. Just the last 2 or 3 months, more so this month than ever, because of my diagnosis. So I'm writing in the journal like, hey God, check this out, man.
Mm-hmm. Let me tell you,
you know who I am, mm-hmm. and you know what I'm doing. But I know He knows what's best for me. So start a journal. Any other things as far as coping with holiday blues?
I just want to go back to the journaling, because I started journaling this year, and I can say that I've almost come to 365 of journaling, and I have learned to love it. Absolutely. But it's so interesting, because when I journal, I start off with, thank you, Lord, I am ... And I, we'll talk about whatever it is where I'm saying, thank you, Lord, I am tired. Thank you, Lord, I'm exhausted. Thank you, Lord, I'm excited. Thank you, Lord, I'm happy. And to be able to go back and look at some of the things that I said back in January, or some of the things I said back in March or back in June. And I'm just like, oh my God, Lord, dang, it is now what? The 14th of December. And I'm, what? I said that, so it's really beneficial being able to just journal and leave it on the paper, really don't take it with you. Like, you put it there and you leave it there and you don't think about it. It's an amazing tool to be able to utilize. But there are also some other coping mechanism that we can use during the season. Some of the things that I have seen for children, some of the families or individuals, is like, we believe in self-care and different things like that, but, exercising, cooking different meals, helping the homeless, right? Helping the needy. I've found that to be so rewarding and so humbling. Um, I feel like this year has been a humbling experience for me. But being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes for a moment has been um, it's been a little different, honestly. I think I've never done what I've done this year alone. I've literally been in my car. So Atlanta is a little bit different than Mississippi. Like, in Mississippi, you see maybe one or two, maybe three or four homeless people. That's it. In Atlanta, you see homeless people everywhere, on every corner. It's literally a culture shock. When I first moved here, I was like, where are these homeless people coming from? And I literally this year have like bought things like blankets and having extra deodorant and toothbrushes and different things in my car. And I see people on the corner as I'm at a stoplight and saying, hey, come over here and get this. So it has really made me feel like I'm really a servant out here. Like I'm really serving. um but that's another coping skill too, because you never realize how good you got it until you see somebody who don't, you know? And I think a lot of times we, like we said, we create this expectation like, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, until you meet somebody who really don't have that stuff. And then you're like, oh my goodness, like I'm happy, I'm good with what I got. Thank you,
Mhm.
So that's a nice little coping skill too to be able to utilize. Michelle, what are some other ones that you feel like are good?
Like you said, self-care, spending time, and also spending time with family, spending time with your support system, limiting different conversations, and limiting social media, TikTok. Pull away from that, your screen time, monitor that. Try to input as much positivity as you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meditation. Let's just listen to music, good, upbeat music or worship music, whatever you choose. Nothing too ratchet and sad. Just input nothing but positivity into you. Even the conversations, somebody call you like, hey, I can't talk to you. I
Not today.
gotta wait. Not
Not,
today.
not
Not
today.
today. I can't hear it. I'm so sorry, but I can't. I can't download that. But definitely, like we said, walking, exercising, swimming. If you just want to walk around your house or walk around in your house, that's good. If you can't get out due to weather, walk around your house, cook, like you said, bake. Bake healthy foods. Cook healthy foods. But I know with the recession, food is high, but it better than eating out.
It
And
is.
just get a cozy blanket or read. Get you a good book and read if you like reading, and like you said, journaling. Or get you just cozy
Yeah.
blanket and cut it up with yourself if that's all
Yeah.
you got. Or a good funny movie. A
Mhm.
good funny movie.
Something that I would encourage people to do is really create a plan to evaluate your life and your lifestyle. Um, I think a lot of times sometimes we put ourselves in situations,
Yeah.
and I think really evaluating any and everything. I'm like I said before, like I believe in evaluations and different things like that, and you can really evaluate yourself. And it's something I started actually a couple of years ago when I was listening to Reverend Michael Todd. um and this is when he was talking about crazy faith, and this is when he first started talking about crazy faith, maybe like a couple, like 3-4 years ago or whatever. And you have to like put yourself there. It's like a diagram, and you put yourself middle. And then you create all these little different branches, like a picture map, basically, where you're talking about different areas in your life, and you have to evaluate where you are. And that's with friends, and that's with family, that's with your career, and and kind of the choices that you are right now and like where you want to go, looking at your finances, like, okay, like, hey, like this may not be where I want to be right now. Maybe I want to increase by 20,000. Maybe I want to increase by 30,000. What are the necessary steps that you feel like you need to take to get there? You know, looking at your friend groups, maybe you need to evaluate and let some people go. Like that's something we've been talking about, and it's okay to let people go. People come into your life for a season and a reason. People don't have to follow you everywhere you go. Um, so really take some time to evaluate your life, your lifestyle, where you are right now, where you want to go. And this is a perfect time to have that conversation as we get ready to enter the new year. You may have to let go of some dead weight this year as you get ready to enter into another year. And I encourage everybody to do that.
Hmm. So here's our final question, and we're going to shut this down. This is seasonal. Holiday blues are seasonal. The question is, what if a person is still experiencing holiday blues? Then is it holiday blues, or now it's time to seek help?
For sure.
Either way, you can seek help though,
Yeah.
professionally, regardless. If it's seasonal, if it's long term, you want to seek help anyway, just to speak with someone. But I always encourage a therapist or a psychiatrist just to make sure something else, hasn't occurred, right? I would say always seek help just to make sure that it is what it is that we're calling it holiday or seasonal, but it could be something else.
Right.
For sure.
Definitely seek help about that.
Yeah. And depression is something you don't want to play about. You know what I mean? When you think, technically it is a form of depression. Seasonal affective disorder is a form of depression, and it's something you do want to take very serious. And so anytime a form of depression, overwhelm, sadness lasts for extended periods of time, you want to seek help. And like we said before, depression is basically a chemical imbalance. You have chemicals all throughout your body, and there are signals or endorphins, sending off different reactions, and you're feeling either sad or lonely or scared, and then sometimes your fight or flight skill, fight or flight or freeze senses are going off, and you're reacting to different things in a negative way. And so that creates the anxiety. That's create the depression, the fear. You have people who walk around in fear daily, and that's exhausting. You have people who are mentally and physically exhausted, and we encourage you to be able to get some help, whether that's talk therapy or even going to go see a doctor. It's okay to be on medication if you have to. There is also a stigma about taking medication. If I take medication, people are going to think I'm crazy. No, you are not crazy. You're doing what you need to do so that you can be okay. And that is fine. And it doesn't matter what anybody has to say or think, as long as you're feeling safe,
Right.
and that's the biggest thing. So I encourage families and parents and whoever, significant others, to pay attention to the people that they care and love about. Check in, ask those open-ended questions. How are you feeling today? And what does that look like for you? You have people who constantly say, I'm okay, or I'm good. What does that look like? Because good to me can be like, I'm really okay and I'm good, but good to somebody else could be like, no, I'm like one argument away from blowing up everybody in the room. Like, you know what I mean? So ask those questions, like really check in with people, because there's so many people who are okay and then they're not okay.
All right. All right. So let's shut down. We've been talking about holiday blues. I think it was a much needed conversation during this season, but just a much needed conversation in general. So Michelle, give us some final words.
Sure. Like I said earlier, seek professional help. and be okay with saying no. Be okay with definitely get some self-care and speaking with your loved ones and spending time with your loved ones, and your input, download positive things in your life. Do not entertain negativity. Limit that as much as possible. Limit your social media, your screen time, because it's a lot of things that's going out there that can trigger you. Suicide rates, just like the recent, as yesterday when Twitch ended his life. Certain things you just need to try to if you're suffering from depression or isolation, you don't want to input that input that or watch that. So try to stay as positive as possible. Like Quatera said, say self-evaluate your circle, reevaluate your circle. You might have to let some people go in your life and make sure that you got a good supportive system. A lot of people that I hear say, I don't have support, I don't have anywhere I can go to. It's always professional help. That's your support as well. If you don't have family support, you have a therapist, psychiatrist. You can get those. It's a lot of free services out there that you can get that can be your support. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Quintera.
We encourage you to dial, 988 suicide hotline. There are increased numbers of suicide right now, especially in the Black community. We encourage, and it's of all ages, honestly. We've seen it from younger children, teenage children, to middle-aged, working class individuals. We've also seen it in people who are older, our elderly community. So we encourage you to seek help as much as possible. And I cannot stress that and say that enough. Just because of the work we do and the things that we see on a daily basis, it is sad. It is sad for us to have to get those calls or have to show up at a place where someone has hurt themselves or someone has done something, and we have to go to the hospital, not just your regular hospital, your psychiatric hospital, and see these individuals. This is sad, 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 sad stuff, and it's real. And we, sometimes we joke and we laugh, but I don't think people really, I get 20 to 25 calls a day for children in need of some help, who may have done something to themselves, who may have come from a home where they had parents who did something to them. This is sad, sad stuff, and don't take it lightly. I really don't take it lightly, because it's the things that we say, it's the things that we do that affects people every single day. And right now, we could be affecting someone. Somebody could be taking this information, saying, hey, this is the word that I needed. This was the encouragement that I needed. I now feel comfortable talking to my cousin. I now feel comfortable talking to my niece. And hopefully this is beneficial to you. We really do mean that, like from the depths of our heart. We do mean that, because I never ever want to hear about, someone that I know of who may have done something to themselves because maybe we didn't have a conversation with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Quintera, girl, I'm almost, I was going to ask you for your Cash App.
Well, listen, my Cash App it is holiday season.
I think you froze. Hey, but honestly, y'all, great topic. Thank you, ladies, for coming on. I think, as you said, Quintera, that somebody might be watching and who might be going through what we just finished talking about, and that you would seek some kind of professional help or some kind of support group to help you deal with what you're dealing with. There are some people who literally care about you, and it's just a matter of finding who they are. And once we find out who they are, stick with them. If not them, definitely there's professional help for you. So this season is tough for a lot of us. As a pastor, again, it's tough for me. As families who are struggling, who's been struggling throughout the year to get just simple things paid. This time of the year is a little extra weight on them, trying to provide for children Again, as Michelle would say, who's not long, the toy's going to be tore up, and you're going to be mad about that. So
Oh yeah.
um, take care of yourself. What you have is important. Who you are is important. So you got to take care of yourself. If that means somebody got to jump ship, there you go. Chunk them.
Yep. And one thing I do want to say is when you mentioned the toys and the gifts that don't matter, right? I hope that people are creating new traditions, right? Because those are the things, the memories that people are going to remember. Okay, I remember when I was this age, we used to do this or we used to do that. Hot chocolate under the, watch a movie together. Those are memories. Those are traditions that you can create. The gifts, forget the gifts, right? You don't have to spend money to create memories, So I encourage you to do that too. There are all kind of different things you can do. You don't have to have matching pajamas. You can do mismatched socks. You got thousands of those in the drawer, I'm sure. I got thousands of mismatched socks in the drawer. Like,
Right. Be creative. Be creative.
Be creative. Think outside of the box. You don't need gifts to make somebody happy. Because if it was the gifts that made them happy, then you got to really check and see what's going on for real. Like,
You need to talk to your child and see what they understand, because that's materialistic. You better make some s'mores in the oven or some graham crackers and marshmallows in the oven, and watch a good movie. Like she said, polka dot socks, mismatched shirt. And let's have fun.
Right.
Have fun.
I remember we used to build tents out of sheets. Like, we didn't have a tent. We had a sheet that we used to put up. I have a twin brother, used to put our sheet up and climb in out the sheets. I remember that. You know what I mean? I was young. Those were good memories. We didn't care about no real tents. We used shoes as the base. You know what I mean? To help hold our tent down in the house. We used to get beat after because my grandma didn't play us with her sheets, but we had fun. So,
right. Yeah. And I think the most important thing this season is finding your happy place. Find your happy place. Stick to it. Your expectation, people's expectations of you is really not important, especially when you can't meet them. Hey, y'all, this has been Mental Health Awareness. I'm Timothy Wright along with Quintera and Michelle. We want to wish you a happy holiday and a happy new year. Hopefully we'll get to see you this time with Ebony. Ebony, rest well. Know that we're praying for you. We're praying with you. And we hope all is well with you. And if we would see you again, we'll see you. Hey, y'all be safe on your trips. Quintera and Michelle, y'all be safe.
Thank you.
I'm like you, Michelle, make memories. Right. We'll always have those. Until next time, again, I'm Timothy Wright, along with my cousin, Quintera, and my friend, Michelle. We'll see you next time. Bye. Enjoy the rest of your day and rest well.
Good night.